Hello guys and welcome in another video tutorial that I am about to prepare for you. In this video tutorial I'll show you how to dynamically fetch Gravity Forms entries using the Gravity Forms API. This is a part of a tutorial that's already in place, but I decided to create a video walkthrough on how to do it yourself so that some clarity would be involved in that guide, and you would have to read less, and you could listen to that video while you were driving a car or if you wanted to learn something new. So I strongly encourage you to go to the Gravity Forms documentation, where I'll go through the part which consists of searching and getting answers with the Gravity Forms API. I shared the link to that to the API in here, so we'll be able to go through that specific blog entry, and you'll be able to get there all by yourself. Anyway, let's say we have a form that contains some fields. In my case, those are three radio boxes where each one of them corresponds to a different selection. So we have recurrence, fee, and other options. Let's say you could use that. You could use that to offer payments collected by the Gravity Forms, where if someone ordered a one-time access to your website, he'd have to pay, I don't know, 50, and if someone wanted a monthly membership, he'd pay 100, and he'd have access to all your website. Let's just assume this case scenario. Obviously this specific form doesn't work like that. So what I'm going to show to you is how to fetch those entries yourself. Say you have a number of forms and you want to print their entries out on your website. You have to, in my opinion, an interesting approach to doing so is using the Gravity Forms API and doing that yourself, because this is pretty straightforward and you don't have to be a super good programmer. Actually, you'll be able to copy over the code that I've created up above. So let's say this data table is then forwarded to one of our site managers or editors, who has to go through that data and give us some reasonable information, right? It's easy to go through. You don't have to ask your users or your editors to go to the Gravity Forms entries previous sections, because you might not want to give them access to your backend. And this way you'll be able to display entries, or you might want to actually limit the number of entries your specific users would see, right? So I'll give you a quick overview on how to do it programmatically. The first thing we want to do is to create a simple shortcode named WPD display GF entries. Feel free to name that shortcode however you want. Our second scenario is to have a text editor, and for the purpose of this tutorial I'm using Notepad++, which is a pretty interesting and simple text editor which you can use to write code by yourself. This specific code is a WordPress plugin which I run on my website, and it's my custom plugin, so it's under plugins GA, and it's named ACF related, which doesn't make much sense actually. But feel free to put it in a different place. For instance, if you have a child theme, and if you go to your themes directory, let's actually reconnect. Boom, 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 boom. Let's reconnect here and let's go to our themes directory. Let's say themes, and if you have a child theme, I don't have a child theme, you can go ahead and open functions PHP file, and then you just scroll down to the bottom and add your functions here. In my case, it's a custom plugin, because it's easier to maintain and I can disable that from the backend directly. So then, if we have your shortcode code in place, I'm wrapping that code inside the output buffer, and because this way I won't have to return any value, because it will be returned here, and it makes the code a bit more clear to read. So the first thing that we have to do is to define our form ID. Our form ID corresponds to the ID which we can find either here, which is the gravity forms ID, or if we go to forms and if we hover down on a form, I think that was, yeah, if we hover down on the form, we'll see at the bottom ID of that form, which is equal to 6, and also we're seeing the ID of the form, which is equal to 6, right? So this is pretty important because we are going to fetch entries from that specific form. Then we're using a simple GF API class static method, which is called get entries, and it will get all the entries for that specific form. Those entries will provide us with an associative array of data, which we have to go through. And then again, it's pretty simple. If you take a look at your data structure here, you see that those fields have IDs assigned to them. Recurrence has ID of 1, fee has ID of 3, other options have ID of 5. As you can see, entry data 1, 3, 5, which corresponds to our selections, and we also have two built-in data sets that come by default with gravity forms, which are ID and date created. Now then, if we iterate through that data, we can also incorporate some tricks here. Say we want to add some data here and add a note here. Let's say that it's irrelevant. So irrelevant, right? And we also want to make sure that if our fee is 50, which corresponds to, okay, this one is, let's say it's, okay, if, let's say if as entry data 3 equals 50, we'll print irrelevant, and in other case we won't print anything. Let's save that. Then if we go to our table here, I think I messed something up. Oh my god, yes, I forgot to add that here. This should be fine now. As you can see, what's been added here is the text irrelevant, which is a valuable information to our editor because we know that he might be willing to ignore that. And by default, you don't have such an option here. So outside of the fact that you can filter those entries by yourself, limit those entries to specific editors, you can edit that data. Now then, to make things even more interesting, if that entry data is equal 50, right, we'll add a custom class. Well, actually we'll style that table row, table column, sorry, table cell actually, background red. I think that should be fine here. Let's go ahead like that. Let's go ahead like that, and we also need to add something like that here. Yeah. So if our enter equals 50 style equals background, let's try it out. Whoops, I messed something up. This is too soon. Alright, excuse me. After a whole work of programming, so I missed something. Almost there. We also have to wrap this here. Voila. I messed something up again, as always. What did I do wrong actually here? So as you can see, thanks to the filtering options, we've marked specific subset of our data as red, which also is easier to filter if you look at it. Then we want to make sure that we also change the color of our data here. Color equals white. And voila, we have our data filtered, and it's way easier to pick specific data from the whole set of data we already have here. Now then, the amount of options in here is actually unlimited. I've given you a very simple example of our gravity forms form, but I think that you could apply that to any other form. Say you have a contact form on your website and you want to display specific entries on publicly. Say you have a set of guests who are coming to your, who are applying for a visit, right? And you want to list those visitors automatically on your website. So instead of looking for a complicated and paid solution, you'll be able to create a list of users by yourself. Say this could be a first name, this could be a last name, and this could be an email. Then you would create a simple WordPress page on which you would list all of the entries who have submitted the form based on the tutorial I've given to you. And I'm hoping that, and that's pretty much it when it comes to displaying entries and front end. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below in the comment section of my website, or leave a comment down below under this YouTube video, and I hope it's become useful to you. Thank you for watching.